I lived my life only thinking about myself for so long. I lived my life without regard for God for so long. I lived my life only doing what I wanted and fulfilling my desires for so long, and I was miserable. But then I had an encounter with God, and now I live my life in adherence to Him. I was so lost, and then He turned my life around and saved me. Before I get into how God found me, let me give you a glimpse of my old life. My parents had a big role in my testimony, and I don't mean to speak negatively about them. They just had a big influence on who I used to be. For as long as I can remember, we were in and out of the church. I remember when I was 6 or 7, we went to this church and like a couple of times, and then we never went back because my mom disagreed with what the pastor said about something. And then we did not go to church again until I was 13 or 14, and the church that we did go to was not the best one because they didn't call out sin, and they advertised like drinking alcohol and stuff. And they also picked and chose what to believe out of the Bible, like what was right and wrong, and not like seeing it as truth, all of it. And so I grew up this way as well. And I was living a life of sin. I was gossiping about my friends and family to others and just speaking negatively about them and not speaking life into them as I should have. I was also lying to my friends and family about what I said or did, and I was full of insecurity. I always felt like I had to prove myself, and I always was trying to look better or act better, like I had to be prettier or smarter or funnier. And building off of that, I had a really bad eating disorder because I just thought being skinnier would make me look better, which is not true at all. And I always felt guilty with no understanding of why, and I felt empty and meaningless with no purpose. But then everything started to shift when I moved to Florida when I was going into my freshman year of high school. I met my now husband, and he went to an Assemblies of God church, and I started going with him just so I could spend time with him. A great reason to go to church, right? But church started becoming interesting, and I was actually gaining an understanding of what looking like a Christian actually looked like. And I started to feel conviction around the people in the church, and I just wanted them to think that I was a good person, and I didn't want them to think poorly of me, so I started watching my words and my actions, and I stopped cussing so much, and I stopped speaking so negatively about people, and I was just watching how I acted around them. And then when I actually gave my life to Christ, it was during a 5-day-long trip to YWAM Orlando, which stands for Youth with a Mission. My whole 11th grade went there, and just the whole time I was there, I felt like a blanket of love around me, and I felt the whole inside of me just fill as I began to learn more about Jesus and like grew my relationship with Him. And I felt the Lord's presence the whole week, and He spoke to me for the first time that I actually heard. He probably spoke to me before that, but I wasn't listening. But and I finally understood the impact of Jesus' death for my sin on the cross, and the people at YWAM just helped me understand how to actually have a relationship with God. And I realized that I was so empty and hopeless without the Lord, and I desperately needed Jesus in my life. All of my sins didn't matter anymore because Jesus gave it all so that I could be free. I began a real relationship with Jesus after this trip, and I just try to make my days glorify Him as much as I can, and I try to look more like Jesus every single day. And I spent so much of my life just ignoring Him, and now I want to go through my life with Him holding my hand. And I want to help as many other people as I can find the guidance and joy that I found in my Savior.